Precisely. We need to make sure our content is structured and presented in a way that AI can easily understand and use. It's like making sure your content is clearly labeled so ChatGPT can find it on the shelves of the internet, so to speak.
Okay, I think I'm getting it. But what does that actually look like in practice?
Right.
What specific steps can we take to make our content more retrievable?
Well, there are a few key things to remember. First, use clear and concise language. Avoid jargon and technical terms that might confuse the AI. Remember, ChatGPT is still learning and it needs clear signals to understand what your content is about.
So it's all about making things easy for the AI to digest.
Yeah.
What else?
Structure your content logically, using headings and subheadings to break it down into smaller, digestible chunks. Think of it like you're creating a roadmap for the AI to follow.
So it's similar to how we structure content for readability, but we're also keeping the AI in mind.
You got it. And don't forget about the power of examples. To help ChatGPT really understand your content, give specific examples and real-world applications that illustrate your points. The more concrete and tangible you make it, the better.
This is really making me think about my writing process differently now. It's not just about writing in a way that sounds good to human readers anymore. Now we have to think about how the AI will interpret our words too.
Exactly. It's a whole new approach to content creation. We have to be mindful of both human and AI audiences.
It's like we're writing for two completely different readers at the same time. That's a challenge, but it's also kind of exciting in a way.
I agree. Speaking of catering to different audiences, have you ever considered how structured data might play into optimizing for retrievability?
I've heard of structured data when it comes to regular SEO. Isn't that how we help Google understand the content on our pages?
It is. But it can also help AI systems like ChatGPT extract the important information and use it in their own knowledge base.
Oh, that's interesting. So using structured data can make our content more accessible to both search engines and AI systems like ChatGPT.
Exactly. Think of it like adding extra labels to your content, tags or categories that make it easier for both people and machines to understand what your content is all about.
Okay, so structured data is a crucial tool if we want to make sure our content is easy to find. I'm really starting to see how all of this connects now. But let's switch gears for a sec and talk about the audience we're trying to reach on ChatGPT. We know this audience is younger, more tech-savvy, and really focused on learning. So how do we create content that they'll find interesting and engaging?
That's a great question. And that brings us to our third strategy, targeting the ChatGPT audience. We need to think about what they're interested in, how they like to learn, and what kind of challenges they're facing.
What are your thoughts on that? What kind of content do you think would appeal to this younger, more tech-savvy group?
Well, remember, this is a generation that grew up with the internet and social media. They're used to getting information in quick, bite-sized pieces. They also value things like authenticity and engagement. So our content needs to be concise, visually appealing, and interactive.
I can see it now. Short videos, infographics, quizzes, polls, things that are easy to digest and share with others.
You're on the right track. And don't forget, this is a generation that's super comfortable with technology. They're eager to learn new things. So we need to be willing to experiment with new formats and platforms.
Right, so maybe we should think beyond blog posts and articles and explore other mediums
Yeah.
like video, audio, maybe even interactive experiences.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of community. This generation is very connected. They value interaction and collaboration. So we need to create content that encourages dialogue and fosters that sense of belonging.
So maybe we should think about incorporating more user-generated content. We could host live Q&A sessions or create online forums where people can connect and exchange ideas.
Now you're thinking like a digital strategist. It's all about finding your audience where they are and communicating with them in a way that resonates.
Okay, so we've talked about optimizing for creation-first intent, retrievability, and targeting the ChatGPT audience. Are there any other strategies we need to consider as we navigate this new world of search and content creation?
Well, there's one big idea that ties all of these strategies together: adaptability.
Adaptability. Can you expand on that a little?
The world of AI and search is always changing. What works today might not work tomorrow, so we have to be willing to experiment, analyze the data, and adjust our strategies accordingly.
So it's not about trying to find that one perfect answer. It's about staying curious, being flexible, and embracing the constant learning and improvement process.
Exactly. It's a change in mindset more than anything. And this is something that will benefit us in any field, not just digital marketing. But since we are talking about digital marketing, let's look at how these changes are impacting certain industries specifically.
Okay, I'm ready to go deeper. Which industries are seeing the biggest changes because of ChatGPT?
Well, as we mentioned before, online services, education, and information technology are all experiencing significant growth in traffic from ChatGPT. But let's go beyond the numbers for a second and look at some real-world examples of how businesses and organizations in these fields are using ChatGPT to their advantage.
Yeah, let's hear some success stories.
One really interesting example is in the field of online education. Imagine a company like Coursera, the one that offers all those online courses. Traditionally, they might have focused on SEO to get people to their website, but now they're thinking about how to make their courses more retrievable by ChatGPT.
So instead of trying to rank high in Google for keywords like online courses or data science, they're thinking about how people might use ChatGPT to find and enroll in those courses.
Exactly. They might start by making sure their course descriptions are clear and concise and, optimized for AI to understand. They might also experiment with creating interactive course materials that can be used right within ChatGPT.
That changes everything. It's like bringing the classroom experience right into ChatGPT. I can definitely see how that would appeal to students who are already comfortable using AI tools.
It's a whole new approach to online learning, and that's just one example of how industries are adapting to the rise of ChatGPT. We're seeing really innovative applications in customer service, content creation, even healthcare.
Wow, that's amazing. It seems like ChatGPT is having a ripple effect across all sorts of industries. It's making everyone rethink their digital strategies and find new ways to connect with their audiences.
It's a really dynamic time to be working in digital.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to those key takeaways we were discussing earlier. Remember those?
Of course, we talked about the changes in traffic distribution, the rise of those unknown search intents, and the fact that ChatGPT has its own unique demographic.
Yep. And by understanding these trends, we can make smart decisions about our content strategies, our SEO approaches, and our overall digital plan. It's all about staying ahead of the curve and being prepared for how AI will shape the way we search for, create, and consume information online in the future.
This deep dive has been so insightful. I feel like I finally understand how ChatGPT is changing things and what I need to do to adapt and succeed in this new environment.
I'm glad to hear that. But keep in mind, we're still in the early stages here. The world of AI is constantly evolving, so it's important to stay curious, never stop learning, and always be open to experimenting.
You're absolutely right. This is just the beginning. But before we wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners? Any final words of wisdom?
Just this. Never forget the power of human connection. Even though AI tools like ChatGPT are becoming more advanced all the time, they'll never be able to replace those uniquely human qualities: empathy, creativity, and critical thinking skills.
That's such an important reminder. AI can be an amazing tool, but it's ultimately up to us to use it in a smart and responsible way.
I couldn't agree more.
Welcome back, everyone. It's the final part of our deep dive into ChatGPT search trends. We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? From how ChatGPT is changing the way we search to what kind of content works best on the platform and who's actually using it.
It really is remarkable how much things have changed. And we're only just getting started, so let's bring it all together and figure out how to make the most of this new world, shall we?
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I'm ready for some practical advice. Where do we even begin?
Well, let's quickly recap the 3 key takeaways from our little journey. First, remember that traffic distribution is changing big time. ChatGPT is sending way more traffic to educational resources, academic publishers, and technical documentation, especially compared to Bing.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that ChatGPT is becoming a go-to source for students, researchers, and anyone who loves learning new things.
Exactly. Second takeaway, we saw some really unusual search behavior on ChatGPT. While about 30% of the searches fit those traditional patterns, a whopping 70% fall into that unknown intent category.
That blew my mind.
Yeah.
It tells us that people aren't just using ChatGPT to find websites or get quick answers. They're using it to brainstorm, create, solve problems, explore new ideas. It's way more than just simple searching.
You got it. And that's where our third takeaway comes in. ChatGPT has a totally different audience. We saw that they tend to be younger and more male compared to Google users, plus there's a much higher percentage of students.
Right, so we're talking about an engaged, tech-savvy crowd. They're hungry for knowledge, love trying new things, and are super comfortable using AI tools.
Exactly. That's where the real opportunity lies. If we cater our content to this specific audience and use what ChatGPT is good at, we can reach a whole new generation of users. We can become leaders in our fields.
Okay, I'm seeing the big picture now. But how do we actually put all these insights into action? What can we do to optimize our content for ChatGPT and this new search landscape?
Here's what you need to consider. Understand those creation-first intents, optimize for retrievability, and target the ChatGPT audience. Those are your three pillars.
Got it. Let's break those down one by one. First, understanding creation-first intents. How do we create content that actually aligns with these new ways of searching and interacting with information?
It's all about changing our mindset. Instead of just giving information, we need to empower action. Ask yourself, how can my content help people solve problems? How can it help them come up with new ideas? How can it help them create something?
So, for instance, instead of writing a blog post about, let's say, the benefits of meditation, we could create a guided meditation script, or maybe a series of journaling prompts.
Exactly. Or let's say you're a marketing consultant. Instead of just writing about the best SEO practices, you could create a checklist or a template that people can download and actually use.
Right, I get it. It's about giving people the tools they need to take action and achieve their goals, not just tell them about it.
Exactly. And always remember, ChatGPT isn't a regular search engine. It's a language model. It can understand and respond to complex prompts. So when you're creating content, think about how it can be used in a conversation.
That's a good point. We need to write in a way that's both informative and engaging,
Yeah.
and almost anticipate what kind of questions or prompts users might have.
You're getting it. Now let's move on to the second strategy, optimizing for retrievability. This means we need to make sure our content is easy to find and understand, not just for Google, but for those AI systems like ChatGPT as well.
Right, we touched on this earlier. It's about going beyond the old ways of SEO and thinking about how our content can become part of that knowledge base that AI uses.
Yes. Remember those tactics we discussed. Use clear and concise language. Structure your content logically with headings and subheadings, and give those specific examples and real-world applications to illustrate your points.
So basically, write in a way that both humans and AI can easily understand.
You got it. And don't forget about structured data. It's basically a way to add tags to your content, making it easier for machines to understand what it's about.
I remember you mentioned that before. It's kind of like the same concept as structured data for regular SEO, right?
It's similar, yes. Structured data helps search engines understand your content, but it also helps AI systems like ChatGPT grab the important information and add it to their knowledge base.
Okay, that makes sense. So by using structured data, we can make our content easier to find and increase the chances of it showing up when someone asks a relevant question.
Exactly. Now, for our final strategy, targeting the ChatGPT audience. We already know they tend to be younger, tech-savvy, and really into learning. So how do we create content that they'll actually care about?
Let's get those creative juices flowing. We need to consider what interests them, how they learn best, and what challenges they're facing.
Remember, this is a generation that grew up with the internet and social media. They like their information bite-sized, and they value authenticity and engagement.
Got it. So we need to use visuals, make our content interactive and shareable, maybe even experiment with different formats.
Bingo! Think about videos, infographics, quizzes, polls, anything that can grab their attention and keep them coming back for more.
And we need to be present on the platforms where they hang out, right? TikTok, Instagram, Discord, all those places.
Absolutely. Meet them where they are and speak their language.
This is all starting to come together. It's not just about creating great content anymore. It's about creating content that's tailored to the specific platform and audience we're trying to reach.
You nailed it. And moving forward, remember to stay curious. Experiment with new approaches and never stop learning. AI and search are always evolving, so embrace change and be ready to adapt.
Well said. This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. I feel like I can tackle this new landscape with confidence now.
I'm glad to hear that. As we wrap up our episode, remember, don't be afraid to try new things. The beauty of this new era is that there are no set rules. We're all learning together here, so try new things, look at the results, and adjust your strategy as you go.
That's some excellent advice. I'm excited to see where this journey takes us.
And remember, we're here to support you every step of the way. Stay tuned for more deep dives, insightful conversations, and practical tips to help you thrive in this age of AI.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep creating amazing content.
And never stop diving deep.